everyone. Welcome to Fostering Growth. My name is Laura, and I'm here with a great friend of mine.
Hi, I'm Christina.
And today we've been catching up, just talking about life in general. It's been a long time since me and Christina have been in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, a few years now.
And just a little background, there was a point where me and Christina lived together in a room setting.
We were housemates.
There you go, housemates. Yeah. I was like, we weren't suite mates.
Yeah.
We were housemates. And that was a very nightmarish house.
Yeah.
We appreciate the opportunities that it gave to us.
Yeah, we connected.
For giving us a house
we shared
and food.
Sometimes.
Just sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Not when they stole my cable, but... but sometimes, I know. No, I do remember having a couple, hangouts in the house. And I think that's how a lot of things that we were, we would hang out as friends, when David would come over, or even when Carla would come over and things like that. And they'd be like, "Oh my God, did you know about this?" And we're like, "What? No," because we were out of the loop in a sense. Out of the loop. And then they'd be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this person's pregnant," and we're like,
"Huh?
¿Qué?" We were like, "No, there's no way. There's no possible way."
Even though we were there in that little, town in San Isidro, we were still far away. It felt like we were so far away. A 15-minute walk to the bus.
That's harsh. Como le decían, yo en el rancho.
I know.
I would have to take here all the way a mile down. Then we're gonna tell our children when that. I had to walk 15 minutes to the bus stop.
They're gonna be like, "But I mean, you had shoes, right? You had a concrete street."
Yeah, that's true.
I guess so. You gotta look at the bright side. That's right. And then I got my bike there, and then I started taking my bike to the bus, and then I could never walk that anymore. I had to take my bike. I was like, "No, this is it got just way easier."
It went from 15 minutes to 6-minute bike ride.
Yeah.
Y luego ponerla enfrente del bus.
Yeah, oh, dude, that was a whole another trouble.
First it was just getting there, and now it's carrying all these things.
That was a whole struggle. But then, now look at us with our cars.
Now we're like, "Oh yeah, let me just go get, what is it? My mask from my car parked over here."
Yeah, dude.
I'm like, "You have a car?"
I know. Well, when I came back to San Diego, I was like, damn, this is crazy, because now I have a car. Now I can literally drive anywhere. And before,
and we still stay home.
I know. Because of the, pandemic.
Yeah, even before that.
I know.
Don't blame it on the pandemic.
Even after it's gone, I'm going to still keep blaming it. I'm going to say, no, I can't go out. I still don't trust.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I have become more aware of my... not just surroundings of where I'm at, but more of how close people are to me. That I'm like, "Oh, quítate."
That's true.
I've noticed that. Before it was we were at bars, everybody was rubbing up against us.
Dude, at concerts.
We're all breathing the same air, and now we're like, "Ugh, quítate."
I know, sweating on each other and
I miss concerts, dude.
I miss concerts too. But
I don't care. I'll go get Corona at a concert. That's the only good reason why I would be out in a big crowd, would be for a concert.
Yeah. Me too.
I miss them so much. I think my last concert was Cage the Elephant. And that was in August of 2019.
2019, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw Queens of Stone Age 2019.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I remember Queens from Coachella. I remember I first saw them there.
Yeah, I think I saw them there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's sick. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think you have to get the shot, or you have to have a negative.
For concerts too.
Yeah, for concerts.
Did you see that they're trying to do on your phone, an app or something that proves that you've had the vaccine? So, it's easier access. Yeah. Kind of like a passport kind of thing. Scan it, and it shows that you got the vaccine. I don't know. Technology. It's happening so fast. That the faster we grow up and the more we see around us, I mean, for example, being 27, almost to 30, you're all these things that we had as kids are literally changing.
Yeah.
And when we're kids, you have the adults saying, "Oh, when I was your age, we only had a stick and whatever it's called.
We didn't have anything."
Yeah, and then now my son is like, "Mom, I want to play the Switch." And I'm like, when I was little, I had Pokemon cards and marbles, and now you just want to play on the Switch.
The tassels, right?
Yeah.
How do you think you were during the pandemic? Do you think it, like...
At first, like everybody else, oh, it's not gonna last that long. Va a pasar, no pasa nada. It's not gonna, you know? But knowing Americans and them not wanting to pay attention to things. And I mean, to be honest, as soon as like quarantine hit, I did kind of stay in home, but I didn't really stay that much. Like, I didn't put so much importance that I should have, you know, to be honest. Like, I should have put more importance. And then later on, the cases were getting, you know, higher. And then me working at, you know, the store, because I had to transfer, it made me more aware. It made me more aware of, like, touching. I wouldn't, like, want to touch my face. And even though we were wearing gloves, like, people would start complaining, like, oh, you're touching everything with the same gloves. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, I was just working with my gloves. And then they're like, how do you know that you're not spreading it like that? And I'm like, oh, that's true. And so, especially working at the store, I was more... my surroundings of how people close were, or how I didn't want to get close to people, or like, you know, even when they did tell you like, oh, stay 6 feet away from like, you know, your coworkers, you have those people like closer to you, you know, you talk to them, but then there's people in the public and you're like, oh, quítate. And you know, it was kind of like that. So I wasn't scared, or I wasn't as traumatized as it started developing, you know, later on. But I think I was like most people, like, oh, it'll pass. Like, I was super bummed out because it was my birthday month.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
All I did was get drunk till 5 p.m. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Took a nap. Yeah. Woke up, continued the party. I did some Zoom with some friends. You know, they said happy birthday. A couple of friends also brought me cake. My mom made me a cake. So, like, I didn't have a bad birthday, but, like, my plan was, like,
totally different.
Yeah, I think I had made reservations for... what is that place called? It's like this... It's in UTC Mall. It's like you go through a wall or something like that. Raised by Wolves, I think it's called.
Okay.
Yeah. And we made reservations for my birthday, and I was so excited because I was like, I'm going to go through a wall. Yeah. I'm going to Harry Potter this. But it didn't happen because freaking quarantine. So I tried to make the best of it, but it wasn't the best.
Do you think it affected you, like,
am I the one interviewing, or are you the one? I'm just kidding.
Is
this your podcast? Or mine? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, because I just saw like a lot of people struggling with that. You know, they were like, oh, we can't go anywhere. Like, it take an emotional toll on it. I mean, because of it. And then I didn't feel that at all. I feel very calm. Like,
again.
Can
we just say your attitude is neither negative or positive. It just is. You just exist, Christina.
I just exist, yeah. I mean, what else can we do besides exist? No,
but I mean, to be honest, yeah, after a while, it does kind of take that emotional kind of thing of, we're humans, we have to socially interact, we have to be around people, you know, and I think that it wasn't much new to me because not that I excluded myself, but I didn't really hang out a lot. And I would go out, you know, friends would be like, hey, let's go out. And I'd be like, okay, let's go. So I think that's what most affected me. Like, I was like, oh, I really need to go out. Like, I really want to go out for a drink. Knowing that I could have a drink in my own home. But I was like, that's not the same. It's not the same. You got to go out and, you know, again, be with sweaty people and jumping up, fist pumping. Yeah. But yeah, like, that's... Like, at first it was like, it'll be fine. And then a lot of people were saying the same thing. Like, oh, it's not going to last that long. Like, we'll be here for a while. You know, maybe, like a couple weeks. And where are we? 1 year, 2 weeks?
2 weeks? Yeah, 2 3 weeks.
Maybe a year and a month, because it's the 10th and it started the 19th. Well, you started earlier.
That's right,
You started like 10 days before.
We were like, what?
It all went from north to south.
Yeah.
No, but, I mean, what did you do in the beginning of it, even though you weren't out and about?
Well, in San Francisco, they made it like the big companies up there, they closed everything down on the 9th. They said, no, not at all. And then where I was working at, they were just kind of like, no, like, we're still fine, we're still going to work. But then they set that stay-at-home order on the 14th, I think. And then they closed school down they just closed everything down.
I know. As soon as they closed school down, it was a little bit more like, oh, whoa.
Damn, yeah. And then,
like, las tiendas?
Yeah. And then they started making flying really hard. They were like, no, nobody's leaving. Nobody's leaving. Nobody's coming in. And I was like, what the f-? And I called my family. I was like, hey, like, how is it down there? They're like, no, it's all normal here. So then I said, all right, well, guess I'm going to go. Yeah. And it's like around my mom's birthday. So I was like, okay, well, you know, I was going to go anyway for a few days. And then a few days turned into 2 weeks. And then they called me from work and they were like, hey, we're closing everything. Oh. And I was like, what? No. Or yeah, I don't know.
Or like, cool. Yeah, like, what?
What's
Am I still getting paid?
Yeah.
It wasn't my choice.
Yeah.
That's what we were saying too. We're like, it's not our choice to stop working, but like when, you know, production was really low in my job, that's when they transferred me to, you know, the stores. Yeah. And so they were offering me a job, you know, or to continue working, but we also had that option of like taking leave and it would be unpaid. And in the middle of a pandemic, how are you not gonna get paid? Toilet paper was nowhere to be seen. Yeah. Yeah, like, honestly, you always see these in, like, the movies. Like, apocalyptic movies. Yeah. The stores are empty or, like, things like that. But when you literally walk into a store and see the shelves empty, that's when I was, like, panic started to settle in. Yeah. I was like, what do you mean there's no more rice and beans? What do you mean there's no more cans? What do you mean the only thing I can eat is Spam? Nobody wants to buy Spam because it's so damn expensive. Like, you know, like, as soon as that started happening, I was like, oh, no.
Like, this is real.
Yeah, I was like, it was getting really scary at that time. And especially, you know, having a kid. Yeah. When you're by yourself, you fend for yourself. You just think about yourself. And then when you have a kid, it's like you got to think about yourself and that extra limb. Yeah. You know, like it's another carry on to be like I had
limb carry on.
I had to start wrapping him around me like the newborn so I don't lose him. Things like that. I know, like it really was getting to the point where I was like, okay, I need to find toilet paper. Can get, you know, not even to like hoard it, but it was really hard to find toilet paper. You know, even like water, like they started putting the, what is it called? The limits. Yeah, that's right. On like on toilet paper. Yeah. On the main things. Yeah. Even like meats and chickens and stuff like that. Even, you know, and eggs. We had it. Yeah, and eggs. Like, it was going crazy. We were like, what is happening? Like, it really was. And it wasn't even because we didn't have the products, you know? It was more of people panicking and going into that panic mode and overbuying. Because I think for the first couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks that I was working at the store, there was no limits. And you could see people literally, like hoarding their cart. Oh, my gosh. And we were like, why are people freaking out so much? Like, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. And then it became a bigger deal when stores started running out.
And then there was those long lines.
Oh, my God. That's true.
I freaked out a little bit, but it was more because my family was freaking out, and I was more like, okay, you know what? Like, we're all pretty stocked up here. I think they even crossed the border to go get stuff at Costco over there.
My dad literally had to buy me a couple of things. Not gonna lie. Like, my dad was like, are you okay? Do you need anything? And I was like, I need toilet paper. I'm like, that's the biggest thing. Yeah. And he's like, okay, come over here. I'll get you some toilet paper. And then when I got there, tenía un carrito, the grocery ones, the black ones. So he had one of those. He had a big garrafon of water. Yeah. He had toilet paper. He got me wipes, like, for the baby. He's like, I don't know if you need them or not, but I got you wipes. And he got me, like, some other canned foods. And I was like, gee, like, thanks for looking out, Dad, you know? And I crossed it over, and they're like, do you have anything? And I was like, no, I just came to do some shopping over here. And then distracted because people are like, oh, yeah, huh? Like, I've heard that people come, you know, to buy things over here because over there there's nothing. And I'm like, yeah, you know, not to, like, try to go over here and buy things and, you know, leave back to America, but it's necessity. There's no way. I'm like, plus my dad gave me these things, and he's like, it's okay. Move along. Move along. It's fine.
Was that before they closed the border down, too?
Yeah. No, yeah, that was before, because I remember when they closed it down, I was like, and it really sucked for people, like, that had, you know, the visas and had to work, like, I think it was way worse for them because there's no way. Where were they going to stay here? How are they going to go back home, you know?
Or the kids going to school.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Yeah, that's, like, so sad.
I know, because it really, how you say, emotionally, you know, impacted people, you know, physically impacted people, like, it, in so many different ways it impacted, you know, not only, like, for people crossing, for work, for school, for medicine reasons. I mean, a lot of the medicine that we get, like, you know, we go to la farmacia over there. So and easy. Not being able to get some of those things, and or like even feeling like, okay, we have to stock up because, you know, we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow or the next day. And I feel like it was more of the social panic that was happening, of like everybody was panicking, so then that would cause people to panic more, and so on and so forth.
It's a domino effect.
That freaking media also not helping,
freaking us out.
No, but it. I mean, up until now, it's been a lot better, even, you know, with things opening up and things like that. But I still feel like, I don't know if I want to go out yet. Like, let me be a little bit more safer. Let me get vaccinated first. Let me get protection 100%.
Yeah. And
let me get a bubble.
And then we'll see. One of those hazmat suits, right? Like those.
It's my Halloween hazmat suit, but I wear it year round.
Yeah.
No, but it's crazy times because I don't think before that it was the flu or like H1N1 or something like that. Oh yeah,
the swine flu too.
Like
but it never got that crazy.
Where it's like mad cow disease.
Oh yeah, I think that's...
Don't eat the cows.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
or
but
like
it wasn't that big.
And
exactly. And so that's why I think that's the main reason why nobody really paid attention to it at first, because they're like, oh, you know, Ebola has happened, or like, you know, the flu, the insects, the cows, everything that has always happened. Social media always puts it out there in either a very terrible way or like, oh, everything's fine, no va a pasar nada. And then this happened and we're like, it's fine. China can handle it, we can handle it. But it did have that big spike of like, it's not, you know, going down. People, you know, don't stay at home. It's spreading more. All those deaths. Like, for, you know, I think in my family there wasn't a COVID death that I'm trying to like think if like there was a family member, but I don't think. But I know that I had family members with COVID. And I mean, even my great grandma, she's in her 80s, and she got COVID because my uncle works at UCSD. I believe he's a nurse. And so he was working around that. So like he got it and then he gave it to her because he takes care of her. And then eventually she got better. So it was a part of, I don't know, maybe a week where we were all worried. We were like, ya se va a ir mi abuelita. Like,
oh my
you know, and it was tough because they were like, she's not getting better. Yeah. Like, she, you know, she's not getting worse, but she's not getting better. She's just kind of, you know, stable in a sense. And then little by little, she started getting better. And then they finally let her go home. But then at first they were like, well, we're going to go let her go home. And, you know, she passes away. Then she passes away at home and she's comfortable. But then she started getting better.
Oh,
and so we, you know, we got lucky. And she's now, you know, still living, still. I don't think she has COVID anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's so good.
But yeah, but like it wasn't as great of an impact until it happened to you and your family.
That's true.
And like I feel for all the people, because that week of me worrying about my great grandma, I couldn't imagine, you know, the people that had their family members also, you know, for weeks on end, not being able to see them.
Some of them have still like for months in the hospital or things like that.
Yeah, and I feel like even not being able to see them because of how, you know, you could get it.
Yeah, you couldn't even be there with them. They had to just be by themselves. And it sucks. And I did have a little bit of experience, like when my grandma was in the hospital before she passed away. They wouldn't let us in. Like, you couldn't go see her or anything. And before, when she was in the hospital, like, I would go visit her, you know, just show her that I was there, that she's not alone, because she didn't like going to the hospital. And I'm like, it's fine, you know, yo te voy a visitar. Yeah.
And then being there.
They didn't let you in?
Yeah, they didn't let me in because, I mean, with whole COVID and everything. And I was like, it's fine, you know, just let her know that I'm calling her, that I'm trying to be aware of, like, what's going on with her. And they're like, yeah, we'll let her know. but I couldn't see her.
You never
that
even
whole time.
know if they do or don't.
Yeah, también eso. So I just want to keep my hopes up, Chola,
yeah.
please. Positive. No, but yeah, like I think she lasted there like a week and a couple of days, and then up until she had her she went to cardiac arrest, and then they kind of told us that, you know, she came back, but she wasn't gonna wake up. Mm-hmm. And I think that was when I had to make the tough decision, but they let us see her, like they let us say goodbye. Mm-hmm. And so I feel super lucky because there's so many people out there that didn't get a chance to say goodbye. You know, my grandma was in a COVID case, so that's the only reason why they let us in. Mm-hmm. But they did tell us, like, you're going to be, you know, in the ICU where there's COVID patients. And it's up to you if you want to be in that, you know, setting. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah. Like, I'll get COVID just to say hi, bye to my grandma. Because, again, other people don't have that chance. And I wasn't about to throw it away. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's hard to put myself in their shoes of not being able to see a family member for a long time, and then they pass away and they still can't see them. It's like I don't know what would have happened to me if I couldn't have said bye to my grandma. Yeah. Because even saying bye, that like closure, it still didn't really happen. But at least I got to see her. At least I got to say bye. At least I got to tell her that I love her and that I'll miss her and that, you know, I'll do everything I can to continue. Because I know she wanted me to continue my life. And she's like, keep studying, have a family, all these things. And I'm like, oh, I hope I can fulfill those. I can fulfill the school. I can definitely do that one. But, you know, it's just, it sucks because you don't, like I said, like you don't see the impact until you're living it or until you experience something like that.
I think we take a lot for granted as well. Mm-hmm. Just not appreciating the fact that we still have, you know, our families around or a family member around. I remember during Christmas time, my mom was getting very upset about, you know, some like minor things. Mm-hmm. And like very upset. And then I told her, Mom, like, come on, it's Christmas. We're all together. Like, that should matter way more than anything else right now. You know, like little things like the house being a mess or like, you know, a certain attitude or I don't know, anything like that. And it's like, we're all together right now during Christmas in a pandemic, you know, like we haven't gotten sick, you know, thankfully. And we just got to look at it a different way. Like, how are we going to be bitter like that? You know, we can't. We just can't be bitter when we have the best thing that we can have, which is like, you know, health, health and your family
and a shelter.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even out there, you know, a lot of people don't have any safe place to go or any place to call home.
Yeah, like all those like who even knows what's been happening with all that community, you know, without homes. So it's like we gotta stay like, I know it's so easy to say stay positive. And maybe it's not so much like being positive, like, hey, it's a happy day, guys. You know, it's not so much that. It's just being like strong-minded and just being like, okay, you know what? Like, being grateful.
Being grateful with what you have.
Yeah.
It's hard to put yourself in like, oh, you know, to be grateful because I'm missing this or I don't have this. And it's like you're focused so much on what you don't have or what you need. And most of the times it's like materialistic, like people feeling like, oh my God, well, I don't have, you know, a Mac computer or I don't have an iPad or I don't have the iPhone 11 and things like that. Because I've heard my brothers, you know, all the time like, oh, you have an iPhone 11? Like, well, I still have the iPhone 5.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's your choice then.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, like it's hard to stay in that positive mindset when all you're thinking about is the things that you don't have or comparing yourself to other people, like, oh, they have this though and I don't have it. And when we got into that pandemic situation, a lot of people started being more grateful. No, but I think the biggest challenge has been Jordan. The biggest challenge I've had is convincing this kid that we're in a pandemic.
You can't see your friends.
You can't go outside all the time.
On the playground.
Like we'll go to the park and he wants to be on the playground with like all the kids. And I'm like, okay, not a good idea. It's not a bad idea, but I'm like, I'd rather just stay over here.
Yeah.
And like he always, like I want to go to the park, and or like can I go to my friend's house? Like he does that with school, because I guess now he made friends on Zoom, and then I think there was one time where they were in the little rooms or whatever, the extra, and he was talking with another girl, and they were having a conversation, not necessarily like adult wise, but they were just talking, and I was like, are they supposed to be like talking like in general, or like isn't it school time?
Yeah.
So I went over and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm talking to my friend. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then he was like, can I go to her house later to play? And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, you can't go. And he's like, why? And I'm like, oh, because we're in a pandemic.
Right. And they're like, what?
He knows that word now. No, but I was like, yeah, I'm like, we can't, go. I'm like, remember when we go to the stores, you got to cover your face.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really hard, as a kid especially. Like, he doesn't understand. I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, you're gonna get sick, don't touch your face. Like, I don't want to make it a big deal either.
Because you'll freak him out.
Yeah, he'll definitely freak out. Yeah. And so, little by little, like, I'm like, you have to wear your mask, and you cannot be, you have to stay over here, not be close to people, like, don't touch either other people or like other things. And it's not much of like, oh my god, you're gonna get corona for them. No, because other people could also be the same. Like, they don't want you to touch them, they don't want you to touch their space or be in their space. So it also helps him be aware, of like the situation and his surroundings, of like, oh, there's a person that is probably gonna make a big deal if you are in their space, especially during this time. And so he's a kid, but he got to learn. Yeah. He knows how to do all these things on the Switch. Yeah. He can learn how to stay 6 feet away.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of like, I don't know. I just wonder what they're gonna think when they're older, about that, about like the pandemic, or how growing up differently, growing up in a like virtual world basically.
Oh yeah.
In their classrooms and stuff, like, is that really gonna affect them? I really wonder, because it's been a year,
Yeah,
and they're barely going back to school, right?
I don't think, I mean, I haven't gotten any news from Jordan's school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know anything. I know that they've been throwing surveys out there for like parents, and they're like, oh, would you like your kid to go to hybrid or distance learning? And I think in my case, I just put distance learning because there's only like 3 months left of school at this point. So it's like, why throw him in there? And I'd rather prepare him for like next year. And then even schools now, like, yes, I know you guys want to open, and there's parents that want to send their kids to school. Yes, it's understandable. My son even says the same thing. Like, he knows what school is, and he remembers going to school, even though he was in preschool before all of this.
That's right.
But he remembers that, and then he tells me like, oh, like, I like school, like, I like to go to school, but I don't like the iPad. He's like, I don't pay attention. And I was like, qué bonito.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, is it like, I think it's working for some kids, maybe like the introverted, quiet kids, but it's not working for like the kids that need interactive learning. They just need to be,
around and have all this energy. Yeah. And it's normal for kids, because as kids, we grew up with just all
playing outside.
Yeah, like playing in the mud, eating mud, and doing all those things, Like, honestly, like, I really want him to have that childhood where he gets to play with kids and be outside, and exploring. But with what's going on, that's just not possible right now. And sadly, who knows when it will be possible. Maybe it is, next year. Maybe next year he's going to start first grade. So it'll be a good, transition, I think. I hope.
Because I think everything, more things are going to open up, right? So, like, by the summer.
Yeah, so I haven't really heard anything about his school yet, but I did do the survey, and I was like, might as well just keep him here de una vez. No pasa nada. And and I think even for me too, like, school, I remember that I was taking my sign language class, and I was taking yoga class that semester before the quarantine happened. And so I was all excited. I was like, oh yeah, my yoga, I'm learning how to stretch. And it felt really good. Like, I had been wanting to do yoga for the longest, and I just didn't get it. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm going to get it. And then the pandemic started. And I was like,
oh,
so doing yoga online was weird. And it wasn't even like, oh, we had to like get in the Zoom and be like, oh, you know, we're gonna stretch or do yoga poses. It was more of like, here's a YouTube, follow the YouTube, and then reflect on it. Oh. So it wasn't that actual experience of yoga that I wanted, but it did help me out, you know, especially in that stressful time. Like it honestly did really help, you know, doing those breathing exercise and just kind of meditating and, you know, learning to just kind of put yourself in that now moment, you know, be present, because I was overthinking about the future. Where am I going to get toilet paper? You know, little things like that that really did stress us out as adults, because the kids didn't really understand, you know? And so,
which makes it a little more frustrating. Like,
yeah, they're like, oh, I don't get it myself. How am I gonna explain it to you? I was like grabbing the little monitos. So, you know, what is it? Batman has to wear a mask before he can stay 6 feet away from Superman. Things like that. But I think that it's also gotten, I mean, in my opinion, because I feel like other parents, maybe they have more kids. It's like a house full of kids, and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna go crazy. Go away. Yeah,
go to school.
But I only have that one.
Yeah, so that's true. It's more manageable.
And I've enjoyed having him around, I guess, you know, because it's like, yes, he's doing school and I'm sleeping, but he'll like burst in the room and just be like, hi mom, and I'm like, hi, and he's like, I love you, and I'm like, I love you too. Aww. And then he leaves. And I'm like, you I'm just kidding. like
that Family Guy episode.
Yeah. Mommy, mama. Hi. And I'm like, hi. Yeah. So, and so I've been able to spend more time with him in that sense, instead of him, you know, leaving and then coming back and all. But yeah, like it has been hard to kind of explain it to him, to kind of keep him away from people. And he's very friendly too, like he's always like saying hi to people, and now I try to keep him interactive with like the Switch, so we'll go to the store and I'm like,
you're like, here,
yeah, I'm like, sit inside the basket and get the Switch and play,
get distracted.
Yeah, and then that way he's not either running in the store or like touching everything. And he still does his own shopping though. He still like goes around and he's like, what's that? And I was like, oh, I don't know, I can't see it. And he goes, let's go. And I'm like, oh, sure. So, a little chauffeur and the little shopping cart. Yeah. Okay, which way you want to turn? Left. Okay. And he know,
has his own list. It's like his own grocery list already. Like,
it's funny because, you know, the Dollar Tree, the shopping carts are small. So he'll grab his own shopping cart and he'll start putting things inside, and I'm like, where's the money? And he's like, you have it. And I was like, I was like, are these essentials?
Essential shopping.
Please, let's keep it to that.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think it's a balance of like good stuff and like bad stuff, and hopefully soon enough, at least, you know, starting first grade, he can be thrown into school and you know, have that experience with his friends, because he likes to be around kids. I mean, what kid doesn't want to be around kids, you know? But he gets excited, like I'm like, oh, we're gonna go with your friends, and he's like, oh, with my friends, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, we're gonna go, you know, to their house or like play date or something.
I wish I had that excitement.
Excuse me, ma'am.
To be around people like that.
Friends. I wish I had that excitement in Friends. That's what you sounded like, Christina. I'm like, what am I? What am I here?
I meant around people in general.
Yeah. We've been, what is it? We've gone through too much to feel that anymore.
Yeah, it's like,
don't trust no one.
There are people who you know, like, well,
people
as humans, as humans, you know, we like social interaction, but like there are some who I have like some friends that got really, really like upset and down because they couldn't go out and be around people, and I was over here like, dude, I'm chilling, like, like, damn, this is the most solid excuse.
I caught up with all my Netflix shows. I even jumped onto HBO, Amazon Prime. Yeah. I put together a puzzle. Yeah. I put together this podcast.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I just felt like there's so much to do. Well, I guess, but that's like personal, you know? You have so much to do. Or like ideas, and you want to just do stuff on your own. And yeah, I guess time's running out, and I won't have that excuse anymore.
Right.
I'll be like, oh wait, the pen. No,
no, yeah, no.
I know.
I know it is kind of scary though to know how the world can be different, because it's definitely going to be different with, again, all this. Some people are getting vaccinated, some people aren't. You know, there's still that question of you don't know who's, you know, I don't want to say who's safe or clean. You know, it's not that people are dirty, but it's just that I mean, for me, in my head, it's more of like, I don't want to get close to people anymore. No matter if there's no more pandemic. No matter if I'm vaccinated and you're vaccinated.
It's still like, get away from me.
Yeah, like, it's still like, I don't want to be close to people. And I've never been one, you know, to want to be in a room with crowded people other than concerts. Like I said.
That's true. Yeah, me too.
Only concerts. And I think after the pandemic's over, like, I'm definitely going to Coachella. I'm definitely going to EDC. I'm going to all those music festivals that I can find.
Really, though, those are, like, the only places that I can tolerate, like,
I think I'm like
long periods of time around people like that.
No, exactly. It's just like a give and take, and you're willing to give your health to take in the music.
I did it for the music.
Rock and roll. Rock and roll never dies. Yeah. No, but yeah, like, I really do miss going to concerts. Like, I think it's one of the biggest, like, I don't care about going to the bars, really, you know, because you go to the bar, you get drunk, you dance to some music, there's a bunch of strangers that are dancing to the same music as you, so it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
But it's not the same as a concert.
No.
Like, a concert is, like, 1,000 trillion times more of a better experience. And I'm like, I miss it. And now they're making those concerts with the cars. Like a drive.
I saw that.
Like a drive.
Yeah, like a
drive-in.
Yeah.
Drive-through. drive. You drive by the.
Drive by.
Just be like, oh, there's Catch the Elephant. Bye.
Bye. Keeps playing music on the radio.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you can do.
Yes. What's the station? No, but even I think there was once a virtual concert for Cage the Elephant, de hecho. But I think it was another. I think they were just being a part of another bigger kind of thing. And I wanted to get tickets. I think the tickets were only like $20. And I was like, fuck it. But I was like, it's virtual. It's not the same. It's like listening. I'll just put YouTube and I'm like, Cage the Elephant. I'm paying $20 to virtually listen to music.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I'll save these 20 for when they come back.
For the actual concert. I saw a bunch of those. Like live, like, what is it? Live shows or... Mm-hmm. And I haven't seen any of them. And it sucks. I don't know. I like watching concerts, like, even on YouTube or whatever, you know, videos, but I just didn't want to do that. I don't know why.
It's a different experience.
It didn't feel right.
Right? Yeah, like, it's a different experience, and it's not the one that you want. Like, you want to be out there trying to, you know, grind on the person in front of you because the people behind you are pushing you. It's not, I'm sorry, it's not intentional. True. It's just everybody was all crowded. That's what I'm telling you, like, nowadays it's going to be different because before we'd be all crowded, we, you know, hitting each other and things like that.
You know what? Maybe because that's where we can, like, let go of everything.
Let go.
Yeah, just, like... let go of just all the
because we weren't thinking about that. We weren't thinking about, oh my god, there's a person next to me sticking to me. No, it's like the music. Yeah, it's live and
you're feeling it and you're experiencing it. It's like right in your face.
It's so much better than virtual shows or anything else. And like I said, they're doing car shows now or something like that, and I'm like, no, I want to be in the front lines.
Not right, yeah.
Trying to not get mosh pitted.
Those things are so fucking crazy.
No, but I'm definitely going to Coachella next year. I don't care who's lining as a headliner. I do not care. I'm going just to go because I need it.
I'm here for the experience.
Yeah, I'm just here to throw myself and have a good time on the floor. If it so happens that a good band is playing, I'll probably go and throw myself in that area. But other than that, I'm just here to experience it all.
Here to live.
I know. To be honest, I think I'm really excited that I got tickets to Bill Burr in December. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I got one for October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be in Valley Center or something like that. It's like a couple, like maybe an hour away or maybe less. Because it was that one or it was is it Laguna Beach?
Long Beach.
Long Beach. I'm like Laguna Beach.
That's
I'm like, that sounds like a TV series.
I think it is.
90210. Yeah, something like that. That's how I was like.
90210.
Laguna Beach.
Yeah,
Long Beach. Yeah.
Long Beach. Yeah.
So there's one in Long Beach, but that's farther than I guess the Valley Center or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I got 2 tickets, and I'm planning on taking my brother, but that depends on how he rubs me off for the rest of the year. I told him, I was like, I have tickets for the show, and he's like, oh my god, he's so excited. I'm like, but sir, you need to pay me for that ticket. First of all, second of all, you need to be on my good side. Just
or it's not happening.
Yeah. I mean, because I always told him, I'm like, I want to go to a Wilbur, just go to a show, just laugh. Just laugh, let go. Just let go, be in the moment.
Relax.
Just chill. Be like Chola.
Just chill.
Just chill.
Just chill a little bit, It won't do any harm.
Harm is the stress that you put yourself when you're not supposed to put stress.
Well, it's because that's the thing, that's like stressing about something. And then later, it's not even like important.
It's insignificant.
Yeah, it's insignificant. It's not important.
Being an overthinker, that happens to me a lot. Like sometimes I'll stay up at night and just think about all these different things either that I have to do or that I should be doing instead of sleeping. When in reality, you're not supposed to be thinking, oh, I should be doing this instead of sleeping. When you're supposed to be, relaxing, sleeping, taking that energy, recharging.
Yeah.
And it's something that I really need to do. But my anxiety and my little voice in my head is like, you should be cleaning, you should be doing this, you get up and do this, and so all of that kind of is in my head, and I'm overthinking and this and that, and then I finally fall asleep and I only get like 3 hours of sleep, and then I wake up and then I'm like, why did I stay up thinking about this instead of sleeping? Like, in the moment I'm over stressing and overthinking and just dying literally. And then I fall asleep, I wake up, and I'm like, oh, why didn't I get more sleep? Oh, well, yeah, I fell asleep at like freaking 6, 7 in the morning because I couldn't fall asleep.
Yeah, because you were thinking about, the possible future, but it's not real. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean,
everything we worry about or stress about or like get anxious about, it's like, it's all what could be or what could happen, but nothing is really happening at that moment. In the moment, like right now, for example, you think about what real like problems you have like in the moment, and you really don't have problems in the moment, right now.
Yeah.
It's usually, you think about, oh, next month's rent, or like next month, what am I going to do? Or like 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, whatever. But that's all in the future.
Yeah. You don't even know if you're going to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
You're stressing over when you're going to finish your school. Like for me, when I'm going to finish my school, and then who knows if I'm going to wake up tomorrow. So,
exactly, as morbid as it sounds, though, like that's why
I guess it would help people to actually really put themselves in the present.
Yeah.
Of okay, yes, it's okay to plan ahead for the future. It's okay to want to plan the next day, because sometimes I do that. I'm like, okay, I have to do this, and I have to wake up, and I have to do this, and I'm like, okay. When I take it day by day, it's sometimes a little bit easier. But when you start putting yourself of like, what am I doing with my life? Oh my God, like this and that. I shouldn't be doing this. Why didn't I do this? Oh my God, what's happening here? Like that's what happens in my head. Mm-hmm. What I should be doing, what I haven't done, what I want to do, what I can't do because I can't do that anymore. Things like that, And it sucks because it's a big part of my anxiety. Like, and I feel like how I grew up is also kind of like a trigger, because I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm so possessive over like small little things of like keeping a memory, because when I was little, like I couldn't really keep anything, like being in foster, like being, in one house to another house. Those things weren't really mine, and when I left foster, like I took my clothes, but everything else was just stayed there. Even my books, my stereo and things like that. Like they just stayed there. And now I'm like, oh my God, I have this, and I don't want to throw it away because it helps me.
It's meaningful to you, but Is it really?
But is it really? Like, I've been trying to, you know, let go of things, or, ¿cómo se dice? Oh my God, what's the word? I keep forgetting words. I feel so dumb sometimes.
Like decluttering?
Yeah, decluttering. Like, I've been trying to declutter, as you can see. As you can see. But a lot of these things are, like, for example, I have a lot of craft things that I've always, like, I'm a very crafty person.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's other things that I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember I got this in, like, high school. Like, my best friend gave this to me. And I'm like, do I really need it? I don't, but I'll keep it because it's that memory. Like, I'm holding on to that memory. And, I mean, I'm doing my own therapy sessions. Yeah. I sit down in front of the mirror and I'm like, how are you feeling today? You know, it's just, it's little things that I come to realize, like, there's no significance to it. No. You give it a significance, but in reality, you know, you don't need it. Just get rid of it. I'm trying my best to get rid of it.
I mean, but that's the thing, though. Like, you're trying. Like, you're already, like, a step ahead, you know? Like, you're not...
I've accepted. Yeah. Exactly. Now I'm trying.
Now you're trying. But that counts. And that's the whole point, isn't it? Like, trying to get better every single day. Trying to get better as you get older, you know? Like, at least you're not stuck in one place.
Or in the same mindset.
Know? Yeah, in the same mindset like 10 years ago, you know, or 5 years ago. Yeah. Like, you're not there anymore. You're trying and
I'm not Laura going to the sexta anymore.
Yeah. Not yet.
Right?
Just wait until they open
it will never be the same. When we were young, a lot of other things were very insignificant. Like brain cells. No, but I do get what you're saying, and yeah, a big part of me, you know, I've talked about a transition that I went through when I lost my grandma. It just, I mean, I was depressed, but I also thought about my life, like, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? Now I have this extra, you know, time, and I can actually focus on myself and my son. Nothing else is really a burden anymore. You know, not to call my grandma a burden, but like if you felt, you know, I had to help her, take care of her, I couldn't leave her. Nobody else was helping her. So it was like, if I don't do it, who is? Yeah. And so I kind of, you know, stuck myself in that situation. But like I told you, like it was more of a positive of like, well, at least I'm spending time with her. And at least, you know, I feel like I'm doing good helping people or like, you know, helping somebody.
And then that's another thing, though. Like, you know, it was a responsibility nonetheless. And it's still heavy stuff, you know. It's still, like, still takes up time. And, yeah, even if you are spending time with her, you know, it's still, like, a huge responsibility that shouldn't be on your hands, you know.
Yeah, yeah, like, when she passed away, the transition, I mean, it was a good transition. Like, I still am, you know, sad. And I feel like I'm still kind of guilt-tripping myself of, like, I could have done more for her. I could have helped her out more. Or, like, I could have made her more happy. And things like that. And, like, I was planning to take her to WrestleMania because she always wanted to go to WrestleMania. And so little things like that I'm, like, that they still sting because when the pandemic was over, I was going to take her. Yeah. You know, when things opened up, and I was going to take her to Sinaloa to see her family as well. And, you know, we made those plans. And then, you know, sadly, and out of the blue, you know, she passes away. Because she did have a lot going on with her, but she was still in a good health condition. Like, I would take her to the doctor, and they would be everything like, oh, everything, okay. Yeah, like, everything's fine, you know, monitoring her. But after that happened, I had that extra time. I was like, okay, really don't make another excuse of like, oh, I have to help my brothers, or like, oh, I have to help my mom, or like, oh, I have to help this person, that person. And maybe this podcast is like, I want to help, I want to continue helping, but this is a different way. Yeah, a different way of helping and a different way of reaching out, because it's not me having to physically be there needing to do things for you. It's more of like, okay, at least I'll be like, you know, a little advice kind of thing, or, you know, learn from my experience or things like that, other than, okay, I have to go my brother, like do this for my brother, and that takes up my time, instead of the other way around of like, oh, I have this time to like give and it starts feeling like a burden. And I'm like, I want to help, but then I'm like, why did I say I wanted to help?
Yeah,
Why?
And then everybody around you, besides your baby, like, they're adults, like full adults.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tear yourself apart for anybody else.
Yeah.
Really, besides,
I don't even know what to do with my life sometimes, or I don't even know what I'm doing in life sometimes. And then these kids come to me, or adults, these whole kid adults, adult kids, whatever.
It's like, hey, and you figured it out, like, so, they'll figure it out. And it sucks because, you do want them to have, like, a better path, or, like, not struggle as much as you did, or something like that. But it's their life, and they're fully capable of, like, changing whatever situation they're in, and even if you think they're not, maybe they're not ready, maybe they're this, that, whatever, they will get to that point. And if they don't, then that's life
not
that
my
they chose.
fault.
Yeah, exactly. That's a life they chose.
And that's what sucks, because with foster, I had to kind of grow up at a young age and then kind of take care of them. And so that's why I still reach out of like, well, I have to help them. If I don't help them, no one will. And then I know how that feels. And then that's when I start pushing more of, do the right thing, do this, kind of like the mom figure of like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And then once they don't do it, I'm like, oh, well, what did I tell you? You had to do this, you had to do that. Instead of like, you know what? It's all out of my hands. It's your life, your choice, your consequences. No, but it's I really have gotten out of that. Like, little by little. I mean, it's been what? It's March, April. 2 months technically of me kind of working on myself, and at least I can say no now. Like, I can be like, nope, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Yeah. What are you doing? I'm sleeping. Bye. Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
I think last night, I have a cousin. I haven't seen him in years, and he lives in TJ. And then he asked me. He was like, "Hey, can you pick me up?" I'm like, it was 11 p.m. I was already sleeping. Can you pick me up? I'm going late to work. And then he works over here in downtown. And then I said, well, where are you? And then he was like, oh, I'm over here. And I actually thought about it. I was like, yeah, maybe I should help him out. I haven't seen him in so long, right? Yeah. And then I sent a message to my brother. I was like, hey, can you pick him up? Because he lives closer. And I live, like, far away. And then he said, no, like, I can't tonight. And then I said, well, hey, man, like, sorry, I can't. I'm too far away. Like, by the time I get to you, you're going to be even more late, Yeah. And you really gotta say no, like, and it sucks, like, I don't know what his situation is, but it's not my responsibility to get him to work. We're the same age. It's like, dude, I'm sorry, like, maybe it would if you would have called me earlier, like, if it would have just been earlier, but, and if I wasn't sleeping already, Yeah. But, like, no, you just gotta say no sometimes. And I don't feel, like, bad about it, because it's, like I said, it's not my job to get you to work early. Yeah. And, yeah, but in the future, like, I'm willing to help, but not to literally put, like,
your stuff aside to be able to.
Yeah, to just go through, like, because I don't know, like, it was at night. Like, I'm not usually out at night like that, like. Yeah. So I don't know.
It's like putting yourself first in that occasion, like, even if it's not anything, a big deal of like, oh, just pick me up and take me to work. Like, for you, it was like, well, I'm already sleeping. Yeah. Like, by the time I drive to you and I take you, and then I'm gonna lose my sleep.
It was and then several factors. Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't even so much because, like, I did wake up and I was kind of like, the whole point was like, dude, I'm like even more far away than you are to work. Like, yeah, it's not gonna help.
By the time by the time I get there, you could have walked to work. Yeah.
You would have already gotten there.
It's Uber. I'm gonna be like, I'm not an Uber. Sorry. My Uber light is turned off.
And it's just like, I would do it any other time, but just that time I had to say no. And there's a lot that goes on around that, where they say like, oh, well, what if something bad happens to them? And it's like, then it's going to be your fault. And it's like, no, it's not going to be my fault. And you can't feel guilty for those things. You have to be really like,
it's hard.
Yeah, hard, it's hard. It is hard, but it's like, you just can't be feeling guilty for, other people's like
choices.
Yeah.
It's because that's what it comes down to. And I've seen that in my brothers too. Because no matter how many times I tell them, or my mom tells them, or anybody else tells them, like, they're always going to make the choices that they make. I mean, even with my younger brother, like always struggling with like money wise. Like, yeah, he doesn't have a job, but you know, he gets help from, you know, the government from being foster. But then sometimes all he has to pay is like a certain, you know, amount of rent, and then his internet, because all he does is online gaming and school. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, can I borrow like money so I can like buy food? And I'm like, well, why do you know? And he's like, well, I paid my bills. And I'm like, sir, you don't know what paying bills is until you have like more than 2 bills. Yeah. I'm like, there's no way. And he'd just be like, well, it's because, yeah, like, you know, I know that he spends his money on stupid. But then I would be like, oh, okay, fine. And then I, you know, let them borrow money, and then they'd pay me back. But I feel like every time that I say yes, like how do you say it? I open up that door of like, treat me however the fuck you want. You know, I'm always going to say yes, or I'm always going to be there. Which, in any other case, you know, he's got in a car accident or needs a help, you know, anything other than, can you take me to the store to buy food? You know, it could be something real emergency-wise. Of course, I'm going to be there. But these little tiny things where I'm like, oh, can you pick me up so I can go to your house? My brother that lives like a couple blocks away, I'm like, no, like, walk it. And he's like, well, it's going to take me like 20 minutes. And I'm like, well, I'll wait for you here. And
yeah.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like, nomás porque tengo carro, you want me to go pick you up? And then I'm like, are you going to give me for gas? And he's like, well, it's only a couple. And I'm like, well, you don't want to walk, so are you going to give me for gas? And Miguel's the same way. He lives in El Cajon, so he's like, can you come and pick me up? And I'm like, I thought you had a bus pass. And he's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, you know what? Right? I'm like, look, I was riding the freaking bus when I was like 7. Okay? And I had to learn that. When we were kids, we would have to go on the bus, on the trolley, to work, to school. And these kids nowadays, they're like, well, I don't know. So I told him, you know what? I'm like, you open Apple Maps, and then you put on there, and then guess what? There's a bus sign. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, there's a bus sign, and it tells you what bus to get down to my house. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll try that. Doesn't come to visit. Why? Because his sister didn't come pick him up. Oh, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, he could have chosen to come down on the bus. He always tells me, like, we don't hang out that much. And I'm like, well, because I'm not about to drive all the way to El Cajon, pick you up, make you spend some time with me, then have to drive you back and drop you off, and then come back over here. Oh, I'll pay you gas. No, just come on the bus. Learn, be independent, do something for yourself. Pero no, mis hijos no son así. No? Yeah, like, I have like, well, I've had 5 kids. You know, my grandma passed away, so now I have 4 kids now. But,
what about Chewy?
Damn Chewy. Goddamn Chewy. Chewy's little rat.
You're a dog rat.
Chewy's like a 0.5. Not that bad. I can just play with him a little bit and he'll get tired. No, but yeah, like it's hard to say no to these kids because I feel guilty. But then after they start taking advantage, I was like, oh, heck no. I'm like, no. That at this point, like you say, they're adults. They know what they're doing. They know their choices. Miguel tells me he has a bus pass now. So then use your bus pass and get your ass down here. Abraham's like, I can walk it. I can do this. Then go ahead and walk it. Yeah. You need exercise, boy. Like, you know, like, do something. Like, they're just expecting me to, like, well, can you pick me up? And I'm like, no. And they're like, I see how it is. And I was like, it is what it is.
It's like, you know, feeling like you have to save them. And feeling guilty if you don't. And then feeling, what is it, like, yeah, just guilty if you don't help them. And it's like, but it's not up to you. It's like, it's up to them, you know? And you really can't, like, control people's lives, you know? You can't guide people who don't want help.
Yeah.
You know?
You can only do so much, but you can't hold their hand forever.
No.
Gotta let go.
Let go.
I'm ready to let go.
Cage the elephant. And then a lot of people feel bad when they put themselves first. You know, they go like, "Oh, you're just being selfish," and it's like, absolutely not. You're not being selfish.
I've heard that a couple of times this year. With my grandma's thing, like, I had to start thinking about myself because, I mean, I was going through a really bad depression I was not eating. I was either sleeping all day or rarely sleeping, just kind of laying there, not even really on my phone, just laying there thinking about like, well, when am I gonna die? Like, this is all pointless. We're all gonna die anyways. Like, and, you know, very, very negative. I mean, I'm already a negative person, but I was like double, you know, the negative. And I knew that it wasn't good for me, and I knew it wasn't good for my son. And the first thing that I thought about was him. I was like, he comes to the house, and I'm all in this, you know, dark room, curled up into a ball. And I remember, like, there was one time where he was like, are you gonna still sleep? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, mommy's tired. And he's like, are you gonna sleep all day? And I was like, mommy's tired. Aww. And he doesn't understand, you know, so I can't be like, mommy's grieving.
Yeah.
He's just like, mommy's tired. And he's like, okay. And then he would like give me a hug, and then he'd like go watch TV. And then 5 minutes later, he'd be back, and he'd be like, Mom, are you gonna be like laying down? Or he'd be like, I want to lay down with you. And I'd be like, oh my God, voy a llorar. Like, I wanted to break down because how am I gonna explain to a little 5-year-old that I'm going through an existential crisis, you know? And then he's gonna go through an existential crisis, and that's not good. So I was like, no, you need to pick yourself up. Like, if it's not for you, do it for him. Mm-hmm. Like, you just need to have a little bit more energy. You don't have to be like, oh my God, everything's fine. Everything's positive. Everything, you know, rainbows, cupcakes, everything, all the time. It was more of like, just get up and push yourself. And I did that. You know, it was little by little, and then I would go back down again. How am I going to get out of this without digging myself deeper? Because sometimes I would climb out of the hole and then like dive back in. Like, and it was because I was making myself feel bad because of the guilt trip of like, I could have done more. And then it was like, no, it's okay. Like, you did what you could. You were the only one that was helping her, and nobody else was. And then it would go on to like, oh, but, you know, now she's gone, and all those things that you guys had planned, like, they're not going to happen. Right. And, you know, so it was kind of like a roller coaster, up and down, good, bad. And for the most part, now I just kind of remember the good times. Yeah. You know, just stay positive, knowing that she's still around, taking care of me. I'm going to, you know, fulfill her last wishes, and I'm still going to take her, you know, with me to WrestleMania, you know, and taking her to Sinaloa for like that was going to be my first time, and she was going to go back. So me taking her remains over there is still kind of like our first time going together and things like that. So I'm just trying to stay on a high note, you know? Yeah. I don't want to fall back into that. And I see myself day by day of like, I miss her. And then, you know, especially like when I went to go pick up her remains, it was like a hug, like she really isn't here anymore, you know. Before I was just kind of waiting, and then now I have a literal, you know, box with her name on it, and I'm just like it's getting more heavy. Like real again. And it's just like a little scab, you keep picking at it, you know. And so it doesn't really completely heal, and I don't expect it to completely heal. I mean, she's gonna always be my mother, but it's really hard to kind of just push through a day, like one bad day, you know, and then, oh yeah, I have a good day here and there, and then another really bad day. Yeah. And then I find myself going back into that whole, like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. No, like, you know, it's just telling myself and putting myself down. And I'm like, I don't want to be in that mindset anymore. I don't want to do that to myself. Like, I have to take it day by day. I mean, yes, it's all meaningless. We're all going to die eventually. But I want to be able to say, like, oh, I actually, you know, enjoyed whatever this is.
Yeah, I mean, it's normal, you know? It's like, it's the grieving process. And that's how you're going to feel. And there's no time limit to that. Those are just feelings, and that's just, you know, humans being humans. Humans exactly. Grieving.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest part is like to remember, like, you're human. Like, you're not a robot. You're gonna feel things at a random time, you know, memories of sometimes, like when I drive by, you know, what used to be her apartment, like I think about that. I think about how almost every day I would wake up and it was a routine to drive to her place. Yeah. And so you drive, you know, the same places, and you're like, oh, like, it just comes back to you and it hits you, and you don't know how it's gonna hit you. It could hit you into like, I miss her, I cry, but then I'm okay. But then there's other days that like it hits me, and like I really like cry, and then like I'm sad like the next 2 days just thinking about her. And so I just have to also find a balance, because I can't tell myself like don't be sad about it, or like don't cry, or you know, because then that's gonna be even worse. I'm gonna bottle it all up.
Yeah,
and then and then when one small thing happens, like I'll drop my coffee and then I'll cry and burst out, because it's happened to me before. Like I've bottled up my feelings, and then one tiny little thing that doesn't even matter happens, and then I'm just like just bawling. Down.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. I think that used to happen to me too, but
then you became a Jola.
Like it's just like you gotta feel it, you know. You gotta feel it, and you gotta let it out. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter that, you know, oh, like you don't want to be crying all the time or something like that. Like they always say that. They always say like pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. So that's where it's like, okay, you know, what if one day you're really good and then you decide to start thinking about it, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about it, you know, like, but sometimes it's inevitable, and that's fine. And then other times, if you like purposely sit there and bring up all the past, you know, and start thinking about it, you know?
I'll just sit there and be like,
But then that's what's making you suffer, you know? That's kind of what's making you like, oh my God, you know, what could have been. And that's part of the grieving. I mean, that's why we grieve even like relationships. That's why there's like a mourning for relationships, or, you know, past relationships, because you think of what could have been. And that happens when, you know, people pass away. That happens when anything ends, really.
Yeah.
We go through this grieving. But I mean, obviously right now, I mean, this just happened, right? Like,
yeah. It's definitely going to take time, and even with time, you know, it's, like I said, not going to completely seal, you know, that pain of, like, I feel like the first time that I really, like, felt like this was when my uncle passed away. It was actually, the worst part is that it was actually the day before my birthday, so, like, every year now, a day before my birthday, like, I remember that, you know? And so the reason why it hit me so big was that because he was like my favorite uncle, and also the uncle that I spent most time with, because when I was living with my mom helped him out, and so he would babysit us. And like I just remember that he was like, his life was not perfect, and I honestly didn't know what he was going through, but I know he was going through a tough time because he was living with us, you know. He didn't have his own place. I think he had just gotten a job and things like that. So I understood that my mom was helping him out. I think I was like maybe like 12, 13, that I understood, you know, she was, well, actually no. I think I was already like 14, 15 because I was with my grandma, but then I was also with my mom. So it's always like hard to determine like an age, because for me it was kind of like blurry and a lot of things I've blocked out, but I really remember like being at my mom's and then with my uncle there too. Yeah, I think it was like middle school times, and he was always like so kind and trying to explain things to me. It was like with his drawings, he would draw a lot, and so he would, you know, draw, and I kind of got that from him too. Like I like to draw, and he would try to show me these things, and then after a while, like, it was just this little bond of, oh, my Tio Shaggy's here. Like, he's going to either show me how to draw, or he's going to be, you know, make funny voice, because it was funny. We had cockroaches. I mean, it's not funny that we had cockroaches in the apartment, right? But I mean, it was funny because he would, like, give characters to the cockroaches. And, like, that's how we would spend time. Yeah. Like, he'd be like, oh, here comes Jimmy again. And I would be like, oh, damn, Jimmy. Yeah. Like, Jimmy, where are you? You know? And at that point, you're like, you're laughing at a freaking cockroach. Yeah, you know? Imaginary cockroach named Jimmy. But it was, you know, the effort that he put to kind of, you know, have a positive outlook in life, even though he was going through so much that I didn't know about until after he passed away, that my mom would share things with me. And I'd be like, what the heck? Like, you would have never thought, especially like at my age, you're not trying to read people like, oh, you know, they're laughing through their pain or things like that. And that's what he was doing. You know, he was going through so much, but yet with us, like, he was trying to, you know, be that positive character around us and like making jokes and like, you know, teaching me like these drawing things and even playing like PlayStation. I remember that he used to play on his, I think he had the GameCube and I think my cousin also had the Xbox, and they would play like Resident Evil and things like that. So like horror things remind me of him.
Okay, yeah.
And when he passed away, it was like devastating. And I think it was before I turned 17. It was like,
really?
you know, it was March 28th that he passed away, and my uncle called me and he was trying to get a hold of my mom. And I was like, oh, I haven't seen her. I don't know anything. And then he like broke the news down. He's like, I need to tell you something. He's like, you know, your Uncle Shaggy passed away. And I was just like, what? Like you couldn't believe it. You know, you're like, what do you know? I was like, you don't, what? No. Like, there's no way. And he's like, yeah, like I need to talk to your mom, you know, and this and that. He's like, if you see her, give her, you know, tell her to give me a call. And I remember that I took the bus ride to, my friend Carla's house, and I was crying the whole way there. Like, it was just, again, something that I was trying to understand because I know what death was, but it was like, no, like, what do you mean? Like, no, he didn't pass away. Yeah, like, he didn't pass away. Like, maybe, you know, he's in the hospital. Maybe they think he passed away because he's in the hospital, but he's going to be fine. And I remember it's very, like, it was a small event, but it's still kind of gives me chills because there was this guy in the bus too, and he was sitting on the other side. You know how like the little seats are in the front, there's like the seats facing each other and then the seats facing the front. So I was on this side and he was on the other side, and he saw me crying and he came over and he sit next to me, and like I wasn't even scared because I was so like into like crying and all that. I wasn't even scared that somebody just randomly came and sat next to me. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he was just like, what's wrong? And I was just like, my uncle passed away and I don't know what's happening, and I don't think he did, but maybe he did. And, you know, I was all over it. And he was like, he wants you to know that it's okay. And I was like,
oh my God.
Yeah. And I was, what? And he's like, everything's going to be okay. He's like, it's going to be okay. And I was just like, bawling even more.
Yeah. Oh
but
my gosh.
Yeah, like it that always stuck to me because like even after, you know, I got to Carla's house and I was crying all day, and then I finally fell asleep, and in the morning they woke me up and they surprised me with the cake, and I forgot it was my birthday.
Oh yeah.
And you know, all the freaking emotions I was going through, and I did feel devastated. I did feel like I was literally like, they gave me a cake and I was like, thanks. And my friend's like, it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'm like, yeah. And she knew about it already, but she was just trying to, you know, make it a big like, oh my God, it's your birthday, it's okay. And I was just like, nah, it doesn't feel like my birthday. And even I think the one after that, like it didn't really, like, yeah, it was a birthday, it wasn't, and it took a while for me to be like, okay, it's my birthday, without having that.
You had that memory attached.
And then they go, I still do, like the day before my birthday I always think about him, and I'm just like, I love you wherever you are, thanks for everything. And then, you know, try to move on from it. And then now with my grandma, it was like another big hit, and it was just like, when they called me, like I was like, no, what? No. They're like, she went into cardiac arrest, we're doing everything we can. And I was like, no, you do everything you can to bring her back. But it didn't click that it's like, after going into cardiac arrest, even in a hospital setting, after 15 minutes you're considered brain dead. And so I had to kind of accept that, but I didn't. And it took me the whole weekend until they told me, like, yeah, like your grandma is just alive on life support, but she's not going to wake up anymore. And like that really took a toll on me because I wasn't really holding on to hope, you know, during the weekend, but everybody kept telling me like, miracles happen. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, after 40 minutes, miracles don't happen. And they're like, no, like, you know, something's going to happen. Don't worry, this and that. And then between keeping my hopes up and also between, you know, trying to kind of accept the fact that I was going to have to make the decision because I was the power of attorney. And I was just like, oh my God, like I don't want to have to make this decision. I want them to call me up and say, hey, everything's good. Like, you know, maybe my grandma can't talk or something. Like something happened to her, but she was going to be okay. And it just didn't happen. And so I had prepared myself, but not so much. And then that really just kind of, you know, hit me real hard. So it had been like a couple years before, you know, or like after my uncle's death that I felt like that. And then now this one like was like 10 times worse.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, there's no point. There's no point in anything that I do. No, but it has been tough. Like, here and there, I try not to cry about it or like feel bad about it, but we're human and I have to feel it. I have to feel my feelings and not let it bottle up, because then it's not going to be good.
And then at least you know, think about the good that you did do, you know, about the
taking care of her.
Yeah, because you were taking care of her, you know, that's huge. And a lot of people, like, imagine, you know, if the people who didn't take care of her, how guilty they must feel.
Yeah, and that's something that I was kind of pointing out to my family when I had to make the decision. It was like, where were you when she was in good health? And then now that it has come down to this, and you're trying to fight with me about, oh, you're just gonna kill her, and it's like, no. Yeah, like, they're trying to put that on me, and I'm no, like, I'm not trying to kill her. I'm just trying to let her rest. Like, she told me herself, like, if I'm ever in the situation, you know, let me rest. Don't leave me in a home, or don't put me somewhere where I'm not gonna, if I can't go home, or if I can't go home with you, then, you know, just let it go.
I mean, you would know best. In this case, you would know best.
Yeah. But again, I know that it's their guilt. I know it's how they feel towards the situation, that they're trying to put it on me. And I'm like, no, because my conscience is clear. The only thing that hurts is, you know, missing her, not waking up and having to go with her. Like, before it was like, oh my God, I have to go do this, I have to do that. You know, it was kind of like a stressor, because I didn't have that time for myself to actually rest. Like, if I had a good, you know, schedule of like resting and helping her out and going to school and going to work without it being a stress, it would have been fine. But I don't work like that either. You know?
And it's fine and normal for you to feel stressed, you know, when taking care of so many things and people. Like, it's fine and normal. Like, it's normal, you know?
Yeah.
Or it's expected, at least. So they can't really, like, be telling you those things. Like, you did your part. You did more than enough.
Yeah, you know? and so I repeat that to myself también, to be like, don't think about what I could have done. Like, think about what you did do. Think about all the emotions that I went through with her, because, I mean, we were imperfect. We would fight, we would argue, we would laugh, we would cry. You know, like, all these different things that I, you know, went through her. Because, like I said, like, it was like spending more time with her. And the more I knew her, and I knew what a grouchy old lady she was, because, I mean, I've lived with her before. But there was this part of me that I was like, I can't leave her. Like, if I leave her, then I feel like she would have been gone way before. Yeah. If it wasn't, you know, for me taking care of her. And so I'm like, I added to her life. I enriched her life however I could. I couldn't give her 100%, sadly, but because I also have my own life, you know? But I did what I could. And in the end, like, I think, well, I'm happy. Yeah. I'm happy, and I'm glad that she's, you know, resting now and she's not suffering anymore. It was really, you know, sad to see her sometimes, that she'd be like, oh, like, you know, nobody comes visits me, like, my kids don't come and see me, and some of them, you know, can't cross from Mexico, but at the same time, the ones that can, you know, don't even go see her grandchildren don't go see her, you know. It was just something that I was like, I know, and I'm sorry, and I can't control it, because she would kind of vent to me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. I'm like, and then you still talk shit to me. And I'm like, yo estoy aquí. And then she would laugh, because she's like, well, you have to be here because you have to take care of me. And I'm like, oh, okay, Mexican, I have to take care of my elderly, right? And she's like, well, what will you do? She's like, I took care of you, now you have to take care of me. Yeah. And I was like, fair. But when it all came down to the decision, people were trying to make me feel guilty. I was like, no. Like, I know that my grandma loved me and that she will always love me, and sorry, but I was the favorite. Everybody knows it. I was the eyes and ears and heart of my grandma. And then Baby G came along. Baby G. But yeah, no, like, it's been really hard, but I know I can do it, you know. It's just a matter of taking the baby steps and just kind of keeping that momentum.
Yeah.
And not thinking to myself, oh, I have to be at 100% every day, because I can't. I don't even.
It's
I
not
get
realistic.
25%.
Yeah.
Low battery mode.
It's not a realistic thing. And, you know, people don't talk about it enough. They don't talk about, like, going through it. Like, you know, they expect you to go to work every day and be, you know,
like, oh yeah, it's all good, don't worry.
Be fine, and, or anything like that. And you just gotta, like, go through it, you know? And that's the thing, though, a lot of times it is gonna be by yourself. And it sucks. It just sucks. But
yeah, it does.
But it's, like, the reality of it, because even if you go and spend time with friends, even if you go and, you know, like, have the time of your life somewhere,
or get distracted,
you're still gonna come home to this. When you're
misery loves its company.
Yeah, when you go to bed, like, what the hell's gonna be on your mind?
Yeah,
you know, like, and that's when you're alone, and that's when you're gonna feel those things, and or even if you are with somebody, like, they still won't understand fully what you're going through, what you're feeling, you know, like, and they don't talk about, nobody talks about enough, like, how you're gonna have to deal with these things by yourself.
Yeah.
But it's, you know,
it's normal, to be honest. A lot of people see it as that, you know, form of, oh, I feel alone. Like, yeah, you know, it's okay to feel alone, but you're right. Like, we have to go through these things sometimes alone. And I feel that when I, you know, was in foster as a kid, like, that's when I learned, like, I'm going to go through things alone.
Yeah.
And so learning how to self-soothe was one of the biggest accomplishments, kind of, you can say, you know, like, I had to learn how to self-soothe.
Yeah.
There's no way that somebody was going to come and cuddle me at night and tell me everything's going to be okay unless I cuddled myself and said, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I try to do that a lot to myself. Like, it sounds funny when people are like, oh yeah, you know, look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, like, I'm beautiful, I'm strong, I can do this.
Yeah, like positive affirmations.
Yeah, and it's funny that people are like, oh, like, talk to yourself in the mirror, like, oh, you know, give yourself that. But it's so easy to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you're so stupid. You're, oh my god, you know, you're lazy. It's so easy to do that, but you can't tell yourself, like, you're strong. Like, look at everything you've gone through. And giving yourself those props, you can't, because why? Because feeling alone is a bigger picture, I guess, than the accomplishment of going through it alone. It's more of like, well, I was alone. And you focus on, like, well, I was alone. But it's like, but you did it. You overcame it. You know, you overcame that feeling, and you learned something about yourself, you know, how strong you are, or how persistent you are of not letting it get you down, you know, or motivating yourself. Like, people would dismiss it because they just focus on, well, I was alone.
Yeah.
Or, like, I was in a negative space. I know I wanted to just bring something up of, okay. So how much, because I don't want to say that you've changed. I mean, we haven't really caught up in a long time, but from the time that we lived together, which was like almost 10 years ago. Yeah, almost. What do you think you have been able to focus on to kind of like to get where you are? Because I know that you also have been, you know, kind of struggling through different things all these years. But what do you think is like kind of like the main one that really got you like, I need to push harder?
Yeah. Well, not so much like push harder. Well, I mean,
yeah,
not so much push harder, but it's more like definitely letting go of like all these negative things surrounding me. Because if I think about it, I think about myself, just me by myself, and I don't have problems really. My problems came from other people. Oh, yeah. And I always thought, you know what? I'm actually pretty good at moving around and moving with my finances, you know, and like, I'm good at that. And then I used to think, then why am I letting other people try to up my bubble? My bubble's good, you know, if I really think about it. It was just either living with other people or just like letting their negativity get to me. Or like spread, because that spreads, dude. If you're living in a place where like the people around you are just negative or toxic, that is going to get to you. And as much as you try to stay, you know, positive, that's gonna get to you. That's how it works, you know. Mm-hmm. So once you move out of those spaces, then it clears up a little bit, you know. And that's where you just kind of like, all right, you know what, like, then it's just you. Mm-hmm. And it's just gotten so much easier. Like, I remember back then, like, we were 20, like, I was really angry, dude. Like, I'm really chill, but I was really angry. I felt, well, bottled up, you know.
Yeah.
Bottled up, I felt really, really, like I could probably, like, explode with any little thing. Mm-hmm. And because I bottled it up, because I was, like, I felt like a victim, because I was like, oh, no, like, they did this to me. How could they do this to me? Mm-hmm. You know, like, they don't love me. Like, you know, whatever. Like, you really feel like that. You really feel like, dude, like, in my case, like, I'm the youngest, and nobody gave a, you know? Mm-hmm. And then I'm thinking, like, oh, you know, like, they're doing this to me. But in the end, I mean, you grow up a little bit, you know? Like, or what I started thinking was that it's not me. It has nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. It's them and their lives. I started to understand. I was like, oh, okay, like, you're just crazy. Yeah. It's fine. You're the problem, not me.
Exactly.
And when I moved away, it became so much easier.
That's what I need to do. I need to move away. I
mean, it helps, that's the plan. Honestly, like,
I'm definitely moving. I'm running away. I mean, just, it's not even just to, like, get away from it, but it's just me helping my brothers out or, like, other family members around me. Mm-hmm. It's so much easier to say no when you're on the other side of the world, you know?
Yeah, it really is.
It's gonna be so much better being like, oh, sorry, I'm, like, 5,000 miles away.
I know.
There's no way that I can drive tonight. So.
You're like, you can buy me my flight if you want.
Right? Yeah, like, you can do all these things for yourself and for me. Mm-hmm. But I think definitely moving is one of my options.
Even like out of the same household, you know, because mm-hmm. like even if I, well, back then I wasn't living with family or anything mm-hmm. like that, but I still,
you were
living
like, with me.
I still felt, but like, look at the place we were living at, you know, it's like that place was getting crazy. We were still in negativity, like we were still in a toxic place, you know, and I was like that. I was just jumping around, and then when I moved to San Francisco, like, you really kind of feel like that, you know. Now you look at yourself, mm-hmm. really look at yourself, and you think like, okay, you look at your flaws. You're like, all right, well, this isn't caused by other reasons anymore. Mm-hmm. Now you got to work on yourself once you realize that, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, moving was probably the best thing for me to do. And then when they would call me, and then the same problems were occurring. But that's not my problem.
Yeah.
And then I was told once that the best thing I could do for anybody is to take care of myself. Mm-hmm. They said that's the best thing because you're taking care of yourself. You're not the burden on anybody else.
Yeah.
And you're doing them a favor. Even if you're not, like, helping them, you know, like, you're helping yourself, and that already takes off any kind of pressure that they might feel mm-hmm. to want to help you, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's very important to help yourself first.
To help yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that, because if you're not okay, how can you offer that help to other people, or, you know, putting yourself in that situation of, oh, you can't even help yourself, but you're willing to help other people. And that's my big case. Yeah, like, I really need to stop, because I hear it from everywhere. They're like, I am a caretaker, but I don't take care of myself. It's really weird. Like, I don't know how I got that, or I don't know how I got there, other than it kind of felt like it was forced on me, you know, from that young age. But then now that we're older and the kids are older and technically adults, like, I've been getting to that, oh, well, you know, it's your life, your choice. I can only give you so much advice. I can only give you so much from myself. Mm-hmm. Then you don't listen. I can't do anything more. Mm-mm. Again, I'm not their mom. Ahí tienen a su mamá. I'm still, you know, trying to have that relationship with my mom too. Yeah. So when they tell me like, oh yeah, like I talk to my mom and like she doesn't understand, and I'm like, it's not that she doesn't understand, it's that it takes time to form that relationship. Mm-hmm. You can't just expect to be like, oh well, she's my mom and she's gonna understand, or she's gonna be on my side, you know. And that's how the kids see my mom. And then my mom, when she doesn't, how do you say it? She doesn't give back the way that I give her, like, it makes me feel upset. It makes me like feel like she doesn't care. Mm-hmm. But I know it's not that she doesn't care, it's just that she's not used to it, you know. She's not used to being back in our lives like this, right? Because before it was like popping in and out here and there. then she would leave and come back, and you know, that's just how it always was. And then now is the time where she's been here more, and we appreciate it as much as we can. But my brothers still have that conflict, and they still come to me. And I'm like, no I'm not your mom.
Like yeah.
I already have a son of my own that I really need to focus on.
Yeah.
And you guys just got your mom back. So go go make a relationship with her.
Yeah. It's really just like as simple as that. Like it's like a simple thing. It's not easy, but it's a simple, you know, concept. Yeah. Where it's like, no, like, I'm not your mom.
Stay over there.
Yeah, get away.
Cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah, 6 feet apart.
No, seriously though, like, I tell them, I'm like, I love you guys, and you guys know that I'll always be there for you. I'm your older sister. You know, I've been through so much that you can kind of come to me of like, oh, I'm feeling like this, and maybe it's not the same feeling of, you know, why you're feeling like that and why I felt like that, but the best case scenario is just the communication line of keeping it open, keeping it honest, and not judging each other for what we feel. And then sometimes I feel like they think that I'm going to judge them because they see me as that mom. And I'm like, no, like, I'm not here to judge. Like, yes, I go off on you because it's frustrating that you don't listen to me after the first 5 times that I tell you, don't open that bottle because you're going to spray it all over. And he's shaking it like, what? Yeah, like, it's just really frustrating. But I am letting go. I'm letting my children go.
Yes, let them go.
I'm learning little by little. And then I'm also, like, learning to take it day by day. Because you're right. Like, we stress ourselves. We, you know, overthink things that can possibly happen, but haven't happened yet. And there's no guarantee that they are or not going to happen. And we put so much focus on that we forget to live in the moment.
Right.
And then sometimes you're like, for example, when I went on the road trip, I was like, oh my God, like, I went to a road trip. I was in the moment, but then when I came back here, it felt like a dream. And I was like, was I really out there in the ocean? Those beautiful sights. And then you come back, like you said, to this, but what do you come back to? Like that same feeling of emptiness, or, you know, being depressed, or just being in that negative mindset of, oh, well, I'm not doing anything with my life, or, oh, I'm, you know, going through this and that. And it's always me. Because I tell people, I'm like, my life sucks. And they're like, your life doesn't suck. And I'm like, yes, it does. I beg to differ. Exhibit.
No. With the 45 slides.
And then the last one is to be continued.
Well, it's not the complete one. Part 1.
Yeah, like I try my best. Like, I really do try. I try to be, you know, positive, bubbly. A lot of people see me like that too, like going to work or going to other places, like meeting people. I try to be my first impression of people, not to like me, but so that I'm not that's negative telling you like, it doesn't matter, you're gonna die anyways. Yeah, like a lot of times, like something happens and I just automatically say, I just want to die. And then when I say that, and then I hear Jordan say,
oh my God.
I know.
Oh no.
Mommy, I don't want you to die. And I'm like, oh. Like, I have to stop saying that. But not just because of him, but it's just because I'm bringing that negative into my life because I keep repeating it. Oh, my life sucks. Or like, oh, I want to die.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, well, it's a thing though, like, like, you know, you have struggles, or, you know, there's things that are, you know, feeling heavy on you, but can you change some of those? And you know you can, because you've been,
sometimes
this is what you've been doing, you know? So it's like, okay, like, how can I change this, or how can I make it better? How can I make myself better? It's more like you, like, it's within.
Yeah. No, it's definitely gonna take a long time for me to be like, oh, wake up, it's a beautiful day, come on.
I don't think if people are really like that, you know? I feel like they would go and they feel like, all right,
I'm trying to make people positive like that, okay? I'm trying to help people. Nah, I was thinking of that scene from Finding Nemo where the star's like, it's a beautiful day, the tank is clean. That's basically like, imagine waking up and it's like, oh my god, it's such a beautiful day, and and you freak out because you're like, oh my god, I'm thinking positive, or like I'm actually happy or in a good mood, or I'm waking up like this. And I don't have that. I don't wake up in a good mood. I just wake up and I'm like, oh, another day of this. Again I have to do this.
Really?
Just take me out now.
Really?
Preferably in my sleep. So I don't feel anything. I just drift off like the rock we are in space.
So morbid.
And that's how I am. But people are like, they see me and they're like, Laura's so positive and bubbly. And I'm like, I don't know where you get that from. I don't know who told you these lies. But a lot of people do see me like that. They're like, how are you so, energetic when I'm around other people? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I just want to not vibe negative towards people. But then, pobrecitos, my actual friends that are around me, and they're like, ay, otra vez. Like, something here else. She comes. I know. Like, really. Like, I think Carla and Sibed call me, like, the Grinch. Because of how, like, just sarcastic and, like, out there that I just talk about, oh, this happened at work. And then I just kind of go off. And they're like, damn. And I was like, but no one can know. No one can know, okay? This doesn't leave the circle of trust. Oh, yeah. And they're like, you're such a Grinch. And I'm like, I don't care. I really could care less.
We're gonna die anyway.
Yeah. And then I go to work and I'm like, oh, hey, yeah. Oh, it's fine. Don't worry. And then in my head, I'm just like, get me out of here. Can there be another power outage so I can get out of here? It's because it's happened before. There's like power outages at work, and then like if the lights doesn't come out back on a certain time, like they'll let you go home.
Oh wow!
But it hasn't happened to me yet. Not yet. But it'll happen one day. I'm planning on it.
Getting Grinch.
Yeah, it's like I tell them, I'm like, hate. I'm gonna do that on my last day of work.
Hate.
I'm gonna be like, here's the list. Hate.
Loathe and
this company, loathe entirely. I'm just kidding.
I meant everything I said about my work. About my past jobs. I meant it. It's not worth it.
I'll come back to that when I'm
just edit it out.
Yeah. But okay, well, just to not drag this any further. Well, thanks everyone for listening. And special thanks to Christina, for being on the podcast, giving me a little bit of her time, driving all the way from San Francisco. I'm just kidding. It's been fun. It's been fun catching up. I really hope that we get to do this more often.
It's been so fun, dude. It's been such a long time.
Let's go to my chepe.
I know.
Get a beer.
Really glad to be here now in the present. Enjoying it.
Let's not make plans for the future because we don't know if we'll get there. Alright, remember that you can find Fostering Growth on social media. Instagram is fostering.growth.pod. Twitter is at foster_growth with 2 H's. And Facebook. Search for Fostering Growth and add us as friends. And I also made a Facebook page with the same name for Fostering Growth. So feel free to go like and or follow.
Yeah, let us know what you thought about this episode and if you'd like to share how you have overcome some of your personal struggles. We just have to take it day by day and try to look at the bright side of things.
Yeah, don't overthink. It's easy to overthink, but...
And always put yourself first, because you are the most important in your life.
Yes, please. Snap.
Yeah. So if you have an idea for any topics or need some advice, please send an email to fostering.growth.pod@gmail.com.
Yay! All right. Thanks, Christina. This really means a lot. And I hope to see you soon.
Hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.